Okay, so I think we're gonna get started so we can make sure that we can get you all out on time. We've got a lot of information we want to cover, so I just want to say thank you all for coming. I know the weather's looking a little dicey, so we appreciate you all making your way out this evening. I just wanted to quickly start with some introductions of who's working on this project for the Mid and Lower Cibolo Creek. So to start, my name is Claire Entwistle. I work with the Texas Water Resources Institute, and I'm the project manager for this project.
Good evening. My name is Chuck Larea, and I'm the Clean Rivers Program for the San Antonio River Authority.
And then, heading your way.
Howdy, I'm Michael Schramm. I'm with the Texas Water Resources Institute.
And then in the back we have Mitch and Brian. You guys can just raise your hands. And they work with the Texas State Soil and Water Conservation Board. They are not only helping fund this project, but are helping us with implementing it. And then all the way in the back at the sign-in sheet, that's Patty. She also works with the San Antonio River Authority, and she's our main point of contact over there. So with that, I'm gonna let Chuck, he's gonna start us off talking about some of the historical monitoring that the San Antonio River Authority has done, as well as what they're gonna be doing in this project.
Thank you very much. I'm going to give you a little bit of idea of what Sarah's doing in the Mid and Lower San Antonio Riverbed. First, I want to give you a little overview of the Clean Rivers Program and our monitoring in the basin. In 1991, the 72nd Legislature passed the Senate Bill 818, and with that was the Clean Rivers Program was actually created. The main purpose of the program is to identify, evaluate, and adapt to existing water quality issues throughout the basin, not only for the current, but looking into the future as well. The monitoring in our basin and the four-county jurisdiction, about 92 to 95% of all the data produced in our basins are generated by the Clean Rivers Program. Sarah also contribution to water quality is quite substantial as well. So we also have an internal program that monitors, as well as the local TCEQ office. These are the parameters that we actually look at. These particular samples are routine samples. They're collected just about every time we go out. Routine monitors plan well in advance. And irrelevant of weather conditions, we still go out and maintain the schedule unless, of course, there's safety issues. For the bi-season sampling, we're taking a look. Water quality is a lot more than just the chemistry constituents of the creek. It's also taking a look at the fish, the benthic microorganisms, as well as the habitat. And we also look at 24-hour dissolved oxygen. And here's a picture of one of our biologists. You'll never see them sad. They're always smiling in the pictures because they do have quite a lovely job. As a requirement of the Clean Rivers Program, we're required to report have an annual report of the water quality in our basin. Every 5 years, every fifth year is a big summary report where we look at all the basins, we do all the statistics and trending. The last one that we actually did was in 2013. Our next big 5-year summary report will be next year. And also in the event, I believe we're going to post these to the web, right?
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken. If you do care to take a look at the report, this is the website, and it'll be there on the presentation for you. In the Mid-Cibolo Creek, we refer to that as the segment 1913. It's a little blurry. Or is that just me? In the Mid-Cibolo Creek, it starts just right at about 90, US Highway 90, and it goes all the way up to Bracken. We have 3 different sites that we take a look at. The first site was Schaefer Road. The other 2 sites are Cibolo Creek upstream of the wastewater treatment plant, and then right there at Cibolo Creek at IH10. Now there are several impairments in the Mid-Cibolo Creek. The major one that's actually listed as an impairment is a 24-hour dissolved oxygen. One of the things that the TCQ and the state started to realize, if you're looking at dissolved oxygen, you can't just grab one sample, because that's only a point in time. 24 hours, we deployed we use data sounds, and it records measurements every 15 minutes. At the end of 24 hours, we average up the data, and that's a little bit more representative of what's actually happening in the creek. There's also some nitrates and total phosphorus concern. These are the sites I mentioned. These are the sites that we're looking at. These are the various parameters that we're also collecting. We're also looking at metals and water. We're also looking at metals and sediment, chlorophyll and pheophytin, as well as the conventional chemistry parameters like nitrate, nitrite, phosphorus. We're looking at bacteria, flow, and field. So the 6 times a year, 6-time frequency is pretty much every other month. So every other month we're going out there regardless of weather, unless it's a major storm event. The lower Cibolo Creek in segment 1902, these are sample sites throughout the basin. This pretty much starts down way over here at the confluence with the San Antonio River and goes all the way up to 90, or H10. These are a couple of pictures of our sites. Cibolo Creek at FM 539 and Cibolo Creek at Skull Crossing. The impairments that what we're looking at is the lower Cibolo Creek has a bacteriological impairment. It also has some fish community, nitrates, and some total phosphorus concerns. Now, when I mention concerns, there's 2 different types of concern. One, it's a parameter that has a Streamwater standard, and there's also nutrients like nitrates, phosphorus. Pretty much a concerns means it's either approaching its screening level or its standard, but it's not bad enough to list as an impairment, but it's getting there. Some tributaries to the lower Cibolo are Martinez Creek, Salvatrio Creek, and Clifton Branch. On the Martinez Creek, I should have highlighted this one red because there's also a bacteria impairment, but there are some nitrate and total coliform concerns. Salvatrio Creek has ammonia, nitrate, and total phosphorus. Clifton Branch, we'll be monitoring a little bit more heavy in the year to come. It has bacteria, dissolved oxygen grab. It also has some screening levels and total phosphorus. Martinez Creek for me is a little personal area because I live on that creek just a little bit upstream of the confluence of the Cibolo Creek. So this is a little bit more than just a job, it's a little personal. Now, once again, if you go to these are all our different sites that we monitor. We have an array of parameters. We do have 2 biological sites. One is over here at Kosciusko, and then one over here is just southwest of Stockdale. All the other parameters we measure basically 6 times for routine, but every now and then we have a site that's 52. We go out there every single week for bacteria. We collect bacteria and flow. That is immediately analyzed, and the next day it's actually posted to the River Rex site. I don't have that here, but I can definitely get that to you. A lot of people kayak and canoe. They can take a look at this website to see what the bacteriological counts were for that day. So it's quite a valuable site. Now I want to get into several other different elements. We not only look at water chemistry routinely and quarterly and so forth, but there's also various different studies that we're looking at to help with the watershed. One of the efforts that we went through last year was the Cibolo Creek watershed boundary redefinition. As an explanation, the current Streamwater standards identifies the lower San Antonio from the confluent all the way up to this red mark, which is I-10 or 90. Then it goes all the way up to Bracken. Then it goes all the way up for the remainder through Bernie. One of the things that we noticed is that a lot of the segments in the mid-Cibolo Creek, there's not a whole lot of water in there. So we went ahead and did is we analyzed, we went to these stations in green about every other month for 2 years. We took a look at the water flow to identify if there was actually water there, and if there was, we would collect the sample. Through our efforts, we noticed that this part between here and here, this one is just below Farrell's Ranch, and this one's over here at Highway 78. This stretch is dry most of the time unless it's a stormwater event. So what we went ahead and did is submit the data to the TCQ to prove what we already knew, which was that it was dry between this area. The Texas Streamwater standards usually go under review every 3 years. Well, we submitted this in time for the 2017 review, and from what our understanding is it might take effect in 2018. I'm sorry I'm not getting this mic close enough all the time. So that's one. So that's one of the efforts that we're undergoing. We just wanted to make sure the state's going to assess the water bodies. Want to make sure that they're actually analyzing the water according to the flow type, either it's perennial or if there's no water. So we assisted the TCQ in figuring that out. As I said, the existing boundary is Missouri Pacific Railroad up there in Bracken. To the left is the upper Cibolo, to the right is mid Cibolo. But our proposed boundary is at the confluence of Balcones Creek and the Cibolo Creek. That's where actually water starts to appear more often and is intermittent. The lower Cibolo Creek boundary, the existing one, was just right there below IH-10 in Bexar and Guadalupe counties. Our proposed site was about 150 meters downstream of FM 78. We submitted that and the TCQ reviewed it and agreed with our findings, so that's always a good thing. Now, in addition to our routine sampling, we have what's called the long-term stormwater monitoring. We know that a lot of the streams are meeting standards under normal conditions, except for high flow events. So we started to look at more and more stormwater work. Way back when I first started, stormwater work meant that we'd get a call at 2 o'clock in the morning. We'd go out to our sample sites. We'd monitor, take samples every half an hour for 24, 36 hours. A little dangerous, a lot wet. But over the recent times with the technology and the automating samplers, we're starting to be able to do a lot more with a lot less manpower and definitely safer for our biologists. In the San Antonio area and in this part, we do have a lot of different sites that we're actually monitoring. Up here in the Cibolo, we have a stormwater station at IH-10, at County Road 337, and Cibolo Creek at 2724. Now, to give you a little explanation, we actually have to go to these sites and establish our station. We have to dig, we have to cement, we have to run conduit. This is just a regular job box that hosts a lot of our equipment. This is our satellite, because one of the things that we're finding through technology is we can find out where there's a sampler sample, the flow level, just by a click of the button. So our biologists will no longer have to go out there to see if it's actually taking a sample. So that's our site at IH-10. This is what the actual instrumentation looks like. All of these, we took a little bit of learning. Some of these sites did go underwater. We did lose a few pieces of instruments, but now we're starting to waterproof them. And as experience comes about, we're starting to learn quite a lot. This is our site at Santa Maria. And this is our site at Cibolo Creek, west of Stockdale. The stormwater work, we still do a lot. We still go out there and we still do a lot of monitoring. We're real happy with our state sites. We'll probably take on another station or two probably in the time to come, but now it's coming out. Another point of one of our studies was the bacteriological source tracking. Okay, a creek or stream does have a bacteria contamination problem. Well, where exactly is it coming from? The more information you know about the species that's actually polluting the river, the better you can address it and tackle the issue. Now, I believe the San Antonio River was using, River Authority was using a lot of this bacteriological source tracking for the 2007 Lower San Antonio River TMDL. We learned a lot from that. Since that time to 2013, the technology has increased and improved. So it's been really a part of our program now since 2013. What we were doing at the 2013 is we were actually going out there and collecting the samples, filtering them, and then sending them off to the Texas A&M to actually do the analysis. Here over the current time, we're actually developing the methodology to do it internal at Sarah. We're still working on it. It's more of a presence absence. Is it human? If it's not, I believe we also have a feral hog biological marker, but we are going to be continuing that effort. This is the results from one of our studies that we did from 2013 through 2016. At this time, rain was hard to come by, so in order to get our high flow events, we had to extend it a year or so. But the results, if you look at this right here, are the various different sites. This is Cibolo at 881. Now the Streamwater standard, there's 126 colonies per every 100 milliliters. So you need to stay below that in order to stay within standard. What we're looking at is this particular site at Cibolo was 137. Yes, it exceeded the standard, but not by that much. So we're hopeful that this watershed protection plan will either help us get closer and maybe even meet standards, which is definitely our goal. As we suspected of the high storm events, look at the numbers, how they jump. So from 425 to 7,000, and the Cibolo, it went from 137 to 1,800. So it pretty much verified what we knew. The stormwater brings in everything from adjacent land. But some of the things that we didn't know were just exactly where were the sources. So the results for this indicated it was about 54% wildlife, livestock and domesticated animals, human, and then unidentified. This was kind of an eye-opener for a lot of people. At one time, everybody was pointing fingers at cattle and agriculture at one time. But when after looking at this results, we're seeing that wildlife is probably one of the bigger contributors. We had one of our investigators do a helicopter survey, and I think for every one head of cattle, they found about 100 hogs from that helicopter survey. So there's a problem here. But once again, there's other sources. So now that we know a little bit more about it, our best management practices can be aimed more specifically at what the issue might be. This is another study that we did from 2014 to 2015. These are the sites down over here on the Cibolo. So it's pretty much stretched out all the way from the lower basin all the way to station 12919. The results of the study, there's what's called a 3-way split and a 7-way split. The 3-way split gives you good information. It has a higher confidence level, meaning that you say what it is and you're more confident in it. Once you start going to the 7-way split, the confidence level starts to decrease, but it still gives you very, very valuable information. As you can see, once again, the wildlife over here on the 3-way split was 54%, and the non-AV wildlife was 41%. I won't get into all these descriptions, but in addition to actually trying to isolate what branch or what animal did do it, they developed, I think there was about 43 different species of animals that were contributing to the bacteria sources. In this study, we found that the 10 most common out of approximately 43 species was the possum, feral hog, cattle, raccoon, all the way down to human. So this is very valuable information. It'll help you aim your best management practice where they really need to go. These are some of the tributaries that we put them branch. As you can notice, they're all during high flow events. Another study that we're looking at is a mussel project. we're looking at the chemistry, we're looking at the fish, we're looking at the microorganisms, the little bugs, and their habitat. Well, the mussels are probably the part of the food chain that actually filters the water. So we decided to start looking at the mussels. Now, in 2009, the Texas Parks and Wildlife identified 15 of the 50 known species of freshwater mussels on the threatened species list. In 2011, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife identified 3 of the 5 mussels as being threatened or endangered. This is pending. This action hasn't come about, but we want to be able to provide data to the state to make better and educated decisions. So this particular project, between 2011 and 2013, we did qualitative and limited time searches for mussels on the lower Cibolo. Well, one of the things we needed to do is find out exactly what was there to begin with. One of the species that was actually identified was the golden orb. Well, as it turns out, we found a few, but this is a good sign. We're also one of the few river authorities that have our own diving program, because mussels not only happen in the riffles and the glides, but they also happen in pools. So we went ahead and decided to develop that program. And this is one of my favorite pictures. This is our project manager and some of the bacteriological sources right there. And that, kind of like in a nutshell, if I don't get that sign, I'll keep on talking forever, but I just wanted to hope it was a little educational. And these are all the little different pictures from our biologists out in the field. As I can tell you, none of them are grinning. They're all smiling. They're really happy to do their job. But thank you, and if you have any questions, I'll take them now. Good. Thank you very much.
I've got one question. Can we use this data to help us control the feral hog population? Is there any kind of a coordinated effort that would help within the watershed to control the feral hog?
Well, Sarah does have an educational program out there that addresses, that addresses the feral hog. I don't know, Steve, would you care to comment on that, please?
Thank you, Chuck. My name's Steve Robbie. I'm with the San Antonio River Authority, and let me get around here. We're going to have to turn your neck. But the San Antonio River Authority does fund, as Chuck said, educational materials to see what landowners can do on their own property. But we also fund 2 wildlife technicians that work for Texas Wildlife Service, and we're evaluating whether we can afford to hire 1 more technician, and those technicians actually do the trapping. And so I think in the first year we did trap 1,000 hogs. We had a couple of instances where the landowners had enough land where we could do some aerial gunning. So we had about 1,000 hogs that first year. We're in our second year. We're approaching that same number of hogs. But as you can tell, even with those technicians, the numbers that we are taking probably are not making a significant dent in the overall hog population. So what those technicians do is try to target areas where they're causing damage. So if y'all have any particular need for that, you can see me and we can get some contact information sent to you. So that is one program that we have. Rebecca? Yes, we also have a gate loaner program. So I think we have 20 sets. So it's the trap gate, and it's enough panels and steel posts, to make the corral. And then also I believe it comes with a wildlife camera so that you could monitor it. Because the trick is you have to acclimate the hogs to the trap, and you really only set the trap one time, because you want to be able to go to catch the entire sounder of hogs, and not just one or two or three at a time, because every hog that you don't catch that's nearby when the trap goes off is an educated hog that won't come back to a trap. So we do have that program available also. So Rebecca or I can get you more information on that program.
One follow-up? Sure. What is the status of the baiting program?
The one that the Texas Agriculture Commissioner announced?
Yes.
I think the Department of Agriculture pulled down that program, and the legislature, don't know if they even passed a law to do some additional study, but the manufacturer of the product has declined, or at least pulled that product from market in Texas. You cannot buy that in Texas anymore. Yes, Brian?
Yeah, you're correct. The company withdrew the label from Texas.
And Brian, did you have a question too? Yeah, no, okay. All right, well, thank you, Chuck. So then next up, we have Michael Schramm from TWRI, and he's going to give you a little bit more information on what we've been doing collecting water quality and watershed info.
Good evening, folks. Thanks for coming out on this very rainy night. So I'm going to talk about water quality, touching on some of the things you just heard from Charles, as well as talking about a few of the characteristics of the watershed. Before I get started, does everybody here know what a watershed is? Anybody that doesn't know what a watershed is? Basically, it's the land area surrounding a water body that all the water, when it rains like today, drains to a common point. So when we're talking about water quality, we also need to think about the things that are going on the land surface surrounding that water body. To give you a kind of a glimpse into what the Cibolo Creek watershed is composed of, here we're talking about mid and lower Cibolo Creek. That's about 92 stream miles. We're also talking about Martinez Creek, Salotrio Creek, as well as Clifton Branch right around the corner from us. To give you an idea of some of those key watershed characteristics, the entire area of the watershed is about 580 square miles, 371,000 acres. There's approximately 186,000 people that live in this watershed. The major land uses in the watershed are really primarily rural. So we're talking about 40% of it's forested, scrub, or herbaceous. We also have about 30% that's either pasture or hay. So largely rural, but there's also about 14% of it that's developed. So that's going to be things that are impervious for cities, roadways, things like that. And also important to note, there's 9 active wastewater treatment plant permits. So those are potential sources that we're talking about as far as bacteria as well. And that's total permitted value is about 18 million gallons per day. When we're talking about the characteristics of those water bodies, there's 5 USGS stream gauge stations. So these are the stream gauges that tell us how much stream flow or discharge is within a given segment of the water body. So the uppermost stream gauge is actually right at the top of the watershed. Let me walk over here to kind of give a better overview. So right at the top of the watershed, at the top of mid-Cibolo Creek near Selma,